All right. Hello, everybody. It is good to see you here with us tonight. It's good to have you here. Uh, uh, I've got one more button to push. Sorry, Terry. I got one more button. It caught me off guard. Now, hello everybody. It's good to have you with us tonight. Those of you listening by Power Faith Radio, thank you so much for coming this way. Just give us hit that little button there, that thumbs up, and let us know you're listening. And if any of our groups are listening, go ahead and just text us through that little icon there about the text. And if you would like to come on over and join us in the Zoom room, you can just go over to a Simple Walk Facebook page, and there you'll find all the links where you can join in with us tonight. And while you're there, come on over to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. And you can always send us an email. Just send that email to outreachnoah@gmail.com. I saw Will come in. Terry, you want to greet everybody that's in the Zoom room tonight?
All righty. Good. Greetings, everyone, and thank you again for joining us here at Outreach Noah's YouTube class. And see, Scotty, of course, he's down in the end room. He's always talking about pushing buttons. You know, he said, he even told y'all to push the buttons
everywhere.
He's a button pusher.
Buttons everywhere, but not one to wear. Go ahead.
There you go. And we got Ronald. He's sitting there shaking his head. He don't know what to think about us, man. Tennessee boys. Then Emuela and Bob and Thomas is here with us tonight. We missed him last week. Glad to see he's doing good and doing better. Talking about eating crawfish again, so we know he's always doing good when he's talking about food.
Thomas is doing good when Thomas is talking about food.
About food. That's what I did. Yeah, what is he saying?
But actually, Thomas is not doing real good when Thomas is talking about food. Thomas is talking about food all the time.
It's right, because the other night you called me, and I think you said you dropped him off to pick up some food.
Yeah, we just got through eating.
You just got through eating.
Yeah, and yeah.
No, yeah, that was funny. And of course, Veronica and Will. And Veronica, where are you at in your nomad roamings?
She's right up the state from me.
Just a little bit north of Knoxville, Tennessee, in the
Great Smoky Mountains.
I mean, Norris Dam State Park.
No, you're supposed to say coming from the.
Oh.
He hasn't done that in a long time.
Coming from the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee, it's Veronica Port.
Hey, there you go. There you go. And then, of course, Will's joined us in, and Will's over here in East Tennessee as well. I think he's somewhere close to about halfway between where Scotty and I are at.
Yeah.
So we got a Will sandwich. Got me on one side and Scotty on the other side, and he's in the middle.
Emuel is trying to show us a foot of something. I can't see.
Oh, that's the bear we got her.
Oh.
Great Smoky Mountains. Yeah, we sent her a Great Smoky Mountains bear. A black bear, Smoky Mountains black bear. If you ever see the videos of Gatlinburg, those little things walk around a lot of, and right in the middle of the crowd.
So let me tell you, before you finish greeting everybody, I was talking to a friend of mine today, and he is a tagger. What do you say? He tags bears during their hibernation. And what they do, they watch them. They got them tagged where they know where they're at, the majority of them. And he said he crawled into I said, did you ever wake one up? He said, let me tell you something. I crawled into one time, and that mama was just laying there sleeping up a storm. She had 2 cubs. And I reached over and put that tag on her ear. And when like that right there, her eyes opened up and she just looked at me and went, He said, my life passed before my eyes. And he said, it did not take me long to get out of there.
And then, wouldn't want, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be a bear tagger. I'm going to crawl in the cold with them when they're asleep and wake them up. Yeah, right. Yeah. That's what I want to do for a living.
Yeah. I'm going to make sure it's deep winter. I'm not going to make sure it's going to spring. No part of spring is going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be about just as bad as wanting to, go out in the middle of the ocean, brush a great white, shark's teeth. I'm going to brush their teeth. You can go in there and clamp on
I brushed it
on a bear's ear. No. All righty. Okay. Now that was all your introduction, your free entertainment for tonight, coming from the great state of
But hills of the Great Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee. Well, you're not you're Middle Tennessee.
I'm down in what they call the peripheral part of the Appalachians. So I'm part of the Appalachians, but it's called the peripheral down here where I'm at.
So I knew that I was in a strange place, and I've been down around Oak Ridge and Chattanooga and different places, but we went over to Terry's house here. It's been, I think it's about a year ago now, or a couple of years, hadn't it, Terry, since we've been down. But I knew we was in a dangerous area when 3 times we crossed a road that was blocked off on both ways, and it said evacuation road.
Oh, it's because we're getting Sequoia nuclear plants right here. Matter of fact, when sometime you're down, we'll take you over here to Zoe's. It's 2 minutes from the house. It's a Harbor Lights marina. And we'll sit right there in Zoe's, eat a burger, and look straight at the towers.
Okay. Okay.
And if you're here on Wednesday, you will get to hear the air sirens go off when they test the evacuation sirens every Wednesday.
Okay.
Of course, then you go on up the Tennessee River, and you'll get up toward where Will's at, going toward up there to Watts Bar. So we got Watts Bar and we got Sequoia right here.
Veronica, where are you heading next? Because I think I'm going to travel with you to get out of this. There's some nuclear plants around.
Here's the way it is. If something hits that plant, I won't even know it.
Yeah.
So I ain't worried about it. So anyhow, greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're just having a good party. Everybody must have had a good day today because we're all kind of cheerful here a little bit. Greetings to Power Faith Radio, the YouTube channel. Those of everyone here in the Zoom room, like Scotty said, come on in, join the party. You can go over to Simple Walk or over to No Hides Australia, New Zealand. There's Scotty's got the links over there as well for those. It's on that side of our nice, beautiful planet. And come in and join us in the Zoom room. And like I said, you don't have to have your camera on. You can leave it off, but you can join in with us if you want to. So. Yeah, tonight we're going to continue on in our journey on Genesis. We're going to continue on into verse 2. I'm going to try to get into verse 4. I'm going to try to cover 2, 3, and 4 tonight. God willing, if it doesn't go too late, how I can get into it. If we need to sit and discuss some things, that's fine too. That's what we're here. We're not here to rush through. Here to take time, read, learn, and learn from one another. And if you'd like to see if you have any questions, Scotty's got the email there at outreachnoah@gmail.com. You can get questions, comments, hate mail, love mail, whatever. Scotty don't care for the hate mail, but
it comes.
I know it does. It comes. Love mail, hate mail, in between mail, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Scotty, you about ready?
I am ready. We appreciate everybody that participated in our Sadaka time this week. Also, I would like to say that, we put out a couple of posts. I'm just going to go ahead and give this plug, trying to help Danielle get into her new apartment. And we are $120 away from that goal. So if you'll go on over to A Simple Walk. And I think Veronica, did you repost that? I think you reposted that, didn't you? Yeah, Veronica reposted it, but we'd appreciate any and all your support in that area. Okay, we're going to
I really appreciate you sharing that video with me of her going down the steps.
Yeah, I've got some
on her own.
On her own.
I showed it to my wife. I said, look at Danielle. She's going down those steps by herself. After everything that's gone on, that's pretty cool.
So let me tell you what she did a couple of weeks ago. The sun was shining. There was just a warm breeze blowing, and she's been shut up in her apartment, not been able to get out because she's upstairs. And she thought, well, I'm going to go out in the breezeway. Well, she went out in the breezeway, just kind of hopped right out there. Her arms are getting defined. And so she got out there, but she couldn't see out because the window was too high. So she said, I'm going to go down to the landing. So she went down the first flight of the stairs to the landing and was trying to look. Well, she couldn't see real good. So she went on down to the third step from the bottom and she sat right there. She enjoyed the sun. She enjoyed the air blowing and everything. And then she looked up the steps. She said, I got to go back up these steps. So going back up is harder than going down. Going down is easy. Going back up, she said it took me about 30 minutes to get back up those steps. She said when I got in the apartment, I didn't even get back up on my bed. I just flopped, pulled a pillow down in the floor and laid right there for a little bit. So anyway, we appreciate everybody that's helping us in that endeavor. We're going to start off our tzedakah time as we always do, giving tzedakah for Terry and I's main teacher, Pesach and Shira Sherbo. They live in Sfat, Israel. And Jeremy Kibbe is on our tzedakah list this week, as well as Harleen Hool. We talked to Harleen Hool yesterday, and she's had a stroke and can't walk very good, but she always ask us to pray for her. And then also, of course, Nadine Akins is on our tzedakah list. And Pamela Steffi, we still have her on our tzedakah list. And you're going to see her next Saturday, this Saturday. You're muted.
Friday. You're muted.
8 and Saturday night.
Okay. All right. So Veronica, get us an update on that. But Pamela Steffi is on our tzedakah list. Also, Christina Hall is on our tzedakah list. And I'm going to get this. Brandon, is that what's her name? Ronald, Brandon, Janice, I got it. Janice, I can't even read my own writing. That's the problem. I had hooked on phonics when I went to school. But we got Janice Brandon on our tzedakah list tonight. And also Wendell and Mary Parsons. We sent them a text today to check up on them, see how they're doing. And William and Tina Lyons is on our tzedakah list tonight. Let me get this dollar wrote up here and put it in our charity box. And then also Ronald and his sister. Ronald, how are you and your sister? Go ahead and give us an update on y'all.
I'm doing fine at the moment, so that's the best part. Very little pain of late. My sister, as I said to you earlier, that the spot on her lung has finally been determined as cancerous, and a biopsy to come in the next few days and determine what course of action to be taken. But the pain
give us
at the same time, but the other's more important.
Yeah. Give us her name again, Ronald.
Diane Bankia.
Okay. We're giving tzedakah for Diane. And then also somebody always sends $1 in for Amuela Asher. And they send in $1 as well for Veronica Port as she travels the country, and Thomas Schaus as he eats anything he gets in front of him. So we're giving all that tzedakah there. And then also Chrissy Seaton. How's Chrissy doing? I
spoke to her while she was at the meeting, our women's meeting on Saturday, and then I spoke to her for about an hour afterwards. Yeah, she's doing well. She's got a few things to deal with within the family at the moment. She hasn't been very visible to us, but she's quite cheerful and quite happy and motoring along quite well.
Okay, good deal. All right, we also have Warwick Marshall on our tzedakah list. Larry Beck and family, we have him on our tzedakah list. And Lynn Duger is on our tzedakah list tonight. Have her on there. And then also Betty Given is on our tzedakah list tonight. And our blessed memory tonight, we have Roger Given on our blessed memory. And we also have a young man, a blessed memory tonight. We're giving tzedakah for him. Many of you know and remember him. Richard Helton. Richard Helton is on our tzedakah, blessed memory tzedakah list tonight. Would you help us and pray with us just a little bit? Hear our voice, Adonai, our God, Father of mercy. Have compassion on us and accept our prayers with compassion and favor. For we know that you are a God who hears prayers and supplications. You are our King. Do not send us away empty-handed. Favor us and answer us and listen to our prayers. Amen. All right, Terry, I'm going to put you on speaker view, and I'm going to do a couple of behind-the-scenes things here I've got to do. And
Please don't poke the wrong button.
I will not. I'm going to try my best not to hit the right button. I will, however, hit the right button, put you on speaker view.
All right. You know, one night he did that and everything went black. And we can't let him. Hey, you know, Scotty, on you hitting that button that night, that's our, you know, way of kidding you like you do Mary with snow show.
Yeah, with the snow show. Yes, yes. so the buttons are so close together. So I'll tell you a funny thing. I was on the phone with a inspector the other day, and somebody called in, and I told him, I said, hold on just a minute, I'm gonna be right back. And I hung up on him. And then the other call came through, and I answered it, and I said, hold on, I've got the inspector right now talking to him. And I hung up on that one. And I so and when I got them both back, they said, are you pushing buttons again? So everybody knows me.
Everybody knows
me. Okay, Terry, I'm gonna put you on.
All right. Okay, like I said earlier tonight, if you wasn't with us a while ago, we're going to continue in our journey into Genesis. We're going to be looking at verses 2, 3, and 4. Hopefully get through this tonight. 4's got a little bit in it there, but not too bad. And tonight we're going to be looking at we just finished the first verse. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then it goes on here, says, and this earth in verse 2. And I'm reading tonight. Our study is coming from the Rob Sampson, Raphael Hirsch Hamish on Genesis. Like I said, he's my favorite go-to because the way he gets into looking at the words. And I've got 9 volumes of his collective writings that I bought as well that links in with these. And he gets a little bit deeper. I was going through again this morning some of the stuff that, and I'm like, I'll spend all, for almost an hour in some of his stuff because he just the way he gets in to the words and goes into the root of the words and going in and showing how these the same roots are parts of other words and gathering more information just to get to understand what is being said. That's what really attracted me to him. And tonight is going to be no different. We're going to be, so this translation comes, English translation of from his German. He was a German rabbi, lived 200 and something years ago in Germany. It says, and this earth, talking about the earth, it was in verse 1, was once confused and tangled, and darkness was over the turmoil, and the breath of God hovered over the waters. And we're going to be looking at the 3 words here, confused, tangled, and turmoil in this passage. And because it's really interesting, because a lot of your English, even the Art Scroll English, has turmoil is the word that's translated. He translates turmoil is the deep. And we're going to be looking at that in a minute, seeing that how the deep is not really the best English for that particular Hebrew word. And he brings that out. And I found that really interesting. So, we're looking at verse 2. It says, in this earth. And he says, Rabbi Hirsch starts out and says, the earth, the Torah therefore continues. It continues in this, as part of verse 1, and the earth was once confused and tangled. He says that this earth, Eretz, which is the Hebrew word Eretz, it is related to 4 other Hebrew words. And the basic meaning of all of these words is a determined concentration on one point, a definitive individualizing course. So this is also the fundamental quality of the earth, meaning it's individual, it's definitive. So he says that this is the fundamental quality of the earth. It yields from its midst a variety of products. So we have this individual object, this earth, and it yields from its midst a variety of products, each species in its distinctive form. Each individual item is unique. He says, thus the meaning of this verse then as follows. This earth as we see it today, with its abundance of sharply different entitied creatures and individual items, was once confused and tangled. But he goes on and says, but had our verse read like this, and I had to take a few minutes with my interlinear Genesis that I have. He says, if the verse had been written like this, instead of, and this earth was once confused and tangled, if it had said, and the chaotic earth was confused and tangled, which it wasn't. It doesn't say, and the chaotic earth. And he's got the Hebrew word here for chaotic. He says, it would have been a historical continuation of the first verse. So if we think about it, this is not what it says, but he says, if it was in the beginning of God creating the heavens and the earth was chaotic and confused and tangled, it would have been a continuation. It would have been a continuation. But we understood when we looked at the word earth earlier on when the study of the first part of the verse 1 there. But he says, instead, however, our verse says, and this earth was once confused and tangled. He goes on and says, verse 1 shows us heaven and earth as we know it at our time today. When he had Moses write that down, verse 1, when it mentions Eretz there and the heavens and the earth is as we see them today from Adam's point forward, and proclaims to us a great truth about them. It was God who brought them into existence in both substance and form. Verse 2 now directs our attention back again to the earth and tells us this earth on which we now behold in an abundance of sharply differentiated creatures and individual items was once confused and tangled. Now, the word that's translated as confused is tohu, is a condition of utter confusion in which the singularity of a distinct object cannot be distinguished. And the meaning of how he's got translated tangled, which is in hoi hu, if I read that correctly. The word here for tangled then marks the chaotic condition as an unbearable, per se, full of contradiction and struggle. So the earth was confused, and it was full of contradiction and struggle. Accordingly, the difference between tangled or confused and tangled is this. Confused, tohu, denotes a condition of confusion in its subjective effect on us. Tangled, the bahu, I guess that's how you pronounce that. Sometimes those vowel points get fun to read when the vowel points move from bottom to the top of the letter. It denotes, hold on, I need to skip that. It denotes an object, condition, confusion per se. Then it means blurred, The word that's translated as tangled is blurred and muddled, unclear, and indistinct. Thus, confusion and tangled is the exact opposite of the term eretz. I'm going to pause right there. We learned that the eretz, the heavens and the earth, the hashemayim va'es ha'eretz, in verse 1, the sages teach us that that is telling us that, the earth is as we know it is today. Like I'm kind of saying, like from Adam on, that the earth, with all of its plants, its animals, and everything else, it's when it tells us that God created the heavens and the earth, the sages says the way those words are written in that passage points to the way we know it as of right now. So when verse 2 comes, it says it was once confused and tangled. Rabbi Hershko, he says here that the confused and tangled is an exact opposite of the term of eretz, which represents the present term of the condition of the earth, which means, like I said, as we know it is now. This confused and tangled is completely opposite of what the term eretz actually mean when God says eretz, the earth. The earth is not recognized as confused and tangled. It's recognized as fully developed with all of its species and its plants and everything. So Rabbi Hirsch goes on and says, so then our verse means this. When we read, and this earth was once confused and tangled, it says the earth, which now produces a variety of species. And he's putting this verse in his own words. Now this earth, which produces a variety of species, each species in its distinctive form, each individual item unique, was once an indistinct, confused, entangled mass. And so that is the meaning behind the Hebrew language of that part of the verse. Anything, Scotty, there for anything that I confused? Anything that I tangled up? Now, we're going to look here where it says, and darkness was over the turmoil. And a lot of your English Bibles will say over the deep. This word here that's translated as turmoil is I drew a line underneath it and I drew it right through my vowel points. Tehoim. I remember right, if I can read through that line, I underlined that particular word and I drove my line plumb through the vowel points. Yeah, the word that's translated turmoil, or in other Bibles, the deep, is from the root word hamoim, a stage that is primarily glowing, to roar and to rage. This word does not mean the abyss or the deep. This word rather denotes the roaring of a sea and the raging of its waves. The earth was in a full state of confusion and entanglement. And from the continuation of the verse, it appears then that in this state, the earth includes liquid as well as solids. Because see, it's a raging sea. The waves are raging. Like you've seen, we've seen pictures of the ocean as when it's raging. And it's huge waves going back and forth and just crashing around. And we know that that is part of the confusion that raging causes. And that's the confusion's effect on the liquids of the earth. And then the entanglement is what happens to the solid mass that's on the earth that is full of contradiction and struggle. The solid mass is in struggle against all this liquid that is raging violently on the planet. Thus, the earth was a confused, seething mass, and darkness lay on the roaring waves. There was no light to penetrate the mass and awaken life, the slumbering germs, as he puts it, so that they should live and develop according to their kind. Then he goes on to the last part of this passage. And the breath of God hovered over the waters. Is Ruach Elohim. And the breath of God, which today, I love how he wrote this in. He says, and the breath of God, which today is interwoven into the earthly matter and produces life from it, was only at the time hovering over the waters. There was no life in the earth at the time, because the life-giving force of the Creator had not intertwined with the creation yet. And so what we have here is before the life of God that came into his creation, without that, it was a raging, roaring, mass of liquid and solid. It was confused and it struggled because God's life had not entered into it yet. It was only above it. But I love how he says, but the earth, and the way he put this here, and the breath of God, which today, the reason why the earth is not in a confused, tangled, roaring, mass of liquid and mass, earth, just all tangled up together, roaring in the sea without any kind of direction or anything. The reason why it is not like that today, the reason why our earth is not in the picture of verse 2 here, is because, as Rabbi Hirsch put it, that today God's breath is interwoven into earthly matter and produces life from it. Scotty? Let him look at me.
Okay, I'm back.
This is some good stuff here.
So I remember us reading one, I think we read it one time or we discussed it one time, that everything that was needed for life was created in that mass, but it took God separating it and putting it in its right.
Well, we're going to see a little bit of that right here when we get into the rest of this.
Okay.
But I love how Rabbi Hirsch is that his breath had not entered into this part of the creation. Like Adam wasn't alive until his breath came into Adam and he became a living,
right
soul.
Okay.
Which we will get to here.
Okay.
Sometime.
Okay.
But I just really found this really interesting here that in the Hebrew, Rabbi Hirsch deduces, but the full impact of verse 1 and verse 2 in its completeness is that the shape that the earth was because his life-giving source, his ruach, was hovering above and everything hadn't started coming, apart together, where that life-giving source begins to give life. And so we're going to see that here as we go into verse 3. And it says, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. And I'm going to go ahead and read verse 4 because we're just going to continue on through here. In verse 4, and God saw the light that it was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. And there's so much. I started making me some notes this morning as I was going through it again. I'm building a Zetacast in a note box system and learning the note-taking system of Nikolai Luhmann, very, very, very famous German sociologist that passed away in 2022. And I'm learning how he did notes and from his readings. And so I was reading this morning, and as more stuff was starting to come out, I've already got 2 note cards out here for future stuff because of what comes out of these 2 passages is so amazing. So or is the Hebrew word for light. And of course he said, let there be light, which is Yahi-yor is let there be light. And Vayi or is and there was light. And again, in his book here, he's got from page 23 to 52, he talks about this. I just started looking a little bit at it today, and I'm like, oh, wow. In his collective writings where he goes even deeper than what's in his Chumash. But verse 3, or, is related to a word that means to be awake, to be receptive to external impressions, like skin absorbs sensations. Or light is the awakening element. See, we're talking about how the earth now is in this mess. He says, let there be light. He's bringing forth the element that awakens. Or is the awakening element which awakens all forces to full development. You know what happens when a volcano erupts and ash covers the skies and it blocks out the sun? When light begins to be withheld, things begin to die. So what is the opposite? When light comes in, it brings life. Light is the awakening element which awakens all forces to full development. And connected here with verse 4, where it says, and God saw the light that it was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. This statement, verse 4, alone with similar statements concerning other creations, and at the end of his work of creation, is intended, if we understood correctly, to set forth one great truth. Rabbi Hirsch says, the world's continued existence is directly dependent on the will of God. In creations wrought by man, the work once brought into existence usually becomes a thing apart from its creator. True, he creates it, but therefore it exists on its own right. We're getting where we understand this, that the great truth is that the world's continuing existence is directly dependent on the will of God. But in an analogy, but when man creates an object, it exists on its own right. It doesn't exist because I will it to. It still exists. What is more, that the creation often gains control over the creator. Look at the things that some of us have, that we have made that's not been really good. how it gained control, how we've had pollutions. We've had other things that we've created that begins to take a control over us. Mortals have the power to create, to unleash forces, or to combine them, but they are unable to control their creations and bridle the forces that they have unleashed. Example, we dropped atomic bombs in World War II. Once those bombs, ignited, there was no going back. We could not unleash it. We couldn't cause all of that devastation to go back up inside that bomb. We don't have the strength, nor the power, nor the force to stop things that we unleash. They lack, talking about humanity, I'm just going to put that word in. Humanity lacks the magical power to control the genie they have roused. The creation overwhelms and prevails over its creator, talking about us. And he is no longer master over his own work. Rabbi Hirsch says, not so God in his world. The world as a whole and its parts not only came into existence through God's will, but continues to exist only because God wills that it should do so. Say that again. The world as a whole and all of its parts not only came into existence through God's will, but they continue to exist through God's will. And I wrote this in my notes this morning in the side margin. I was going through this again. We have a lot of humans running around saying, I have the right to do this, and I have the right of this and the right of that, and I have all these rights. But when we understand the Creator in this point, we do not have the right to exist upon ourselves. We can't will to exist. We exist only because God wills it. So when we run around and want to fight for our rights, remember, and I come to this understanding years ago when we talk about the Torah. The Torah God does not reveal in his mighty awesome Torah, his instruction to mankind, anything about rights. But he gives us a lot of obligations and responsibilities. But there's no rights. We can't claim, well, I have a right to this. No, but God's given us obligations and responsibilities as humans. We cannot will our right to exist. We exist solely because God wills it. Even after he had created it, his creation, God observes his work and grants it a continued existence because it meets his approval, and only as long as he considers it's good. Rabbi Hirsch goes on and says, the scripture thus discredits those who err and include the artisan in his work, the creator in his creation, God in his world. They hold that God is immersed in the world as though he were the world's mind and soul. Thus, they lower God to the level of a force of nature, which has no existence beyond the world. Rabbi Hirsch says, not so. God created the world and all of its parts. He looked at them again. It follows then that the work is external to its creator and that God is outside the world. God bara, he created, as we discussed in verse 1. He created the world, giving it an external existence. He gave the world through the word bara. He gave it an external existence. The world is related to God, not as the body is related to the soul, not as an organism is related to the life force, but as a work is related to its maker. Moreover, God transcends his world absolutely. Rabbi Hirsch says his work remains forever dependent on him. The work is dependent on him, whereas he is independent of his work. God looks upon, and this is really good because he says here, and he saw the light was good. It says God looks upon his work and he finds it good. And only because he looks upon it. And it's only for as long as he looks upon it, it does continue to exist. See, he said, let there be light. Yehi or. Light continues, creation continues because he has spoken and he looks upon it. This mastery of the Creator over his handiwork, his control over his creation, even after he has created it, demonstrated at the very outset by his separation of light and darkness. Because I love this, because this ties right back into stuff I've talked about in Genesis 2:16. Matter of fact, I made that in my notes. He established order. He set boundaries between the newly light and the darkness which had existed beforehand. He set a boundary between light and darkness. He sets orders. And throughout his Torah, the whole issue of order and boundaries is there. No matter how many times religions pop up trying to do away with the boundaries of God, they're forever in existence. And he started right here with light and darkness as its prime example. Henceforth, both are the rule of earth and have impact upon it. Light awakens and bestirs everything to individual life and growth. Darkness, by temporarily eliminating stress and stimuli, brings rest, allowing a penetration and interaction of forces that benefits and strengthens them all. How many times we've ever discussed the benefit of darkness? When God created light and darkness, one is to awaken and stirs individuals to life. The purpose of the darkness after that is to bring a temporary relief of stress and bring rest, allowing a penetration and interaction of forces that benefits and strengthens them all. As life gives us, a stirring and an awakening, when darkness comes on us at night and we sleep, we've all heard the doctors tell us the importance of sleep, especially at night, because that's when the body grows and heals itself. When we're in that restful state. Light must not operate without restraints. And darkness, each must have its own province. The same God who called out into the darkness, let there be light. He is the one who now establishes order and sets boundaries between these two contrasts. Henceforth, both are to rule the earth. Darkness is to store matter and gather strength, and light is to give shape to substance and awaken life. God is the one who separates the light from the darkness. He gives this example. Even as a root of a plant is a child of darkness. Remember the root that's down in the ground? It does see light. So he considers like the root of a plant, I say a root of a tree, is a child of darkness. And the stem and leaf and blossom are children of the light. So darkness and light, night and day, are mother and father of every organic being. All life germinates in the womb in obscure darkness and matures to independence under the rays of light. This fluctuation accompanies us throughout our whole earthly existence. In our earthly lifetime, we cannot bear constant light. When we have employed all of our energies in independent effort and activity, and we have stood for 12 hours in the rays of light, we return weary, depleted, in the soft embrace of the night, sheltered under the motherly wing of night. We replenish ourselves with fresh energies. Then we rise again to the life of light and with the coming of the new day. That gets us through verses 2, 3, and 4. Scotty, any questions or anything we need to discuss?
No, I believe everybody's listening. So it's pretty interesting. So I believe everybody's listening. So
See, all of this has importance to our everyday life.
Yeah.
And yet, this first section of Genesis, and I'm going to say at least Genesis through chapter 9, as we will see when we get there, of all the things we're going to discuss, the majority of us have been, ignorant and been withheld of the beauty of the Torah of God. All of this applies to all humanity, including us, even though he did separate Israel. Like he separated light and darkness, he separated Israel and the nations for a purpose. Each has its own purpose, its own boundaries, its own goals.
Yeah.
And we're going to see that as we continue on, because God is about order and boundaries. And that's going to be, boundaries is going to be a theme that you're going to see a big part of the Torah when we get in, as we go through the Hebrew, as we go through understanding these things that, none of us had a clue about because we wasn't taught the original language. We wasn't taught what the original language says. We wasn't taught what the Bible actually meant. We all grew up in translations from people who read translations who had no clue what it said, and they invented their own interpretations. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but that's just the cold hard facts of the nations. And every time Israel, especially for the last 2,000 years, has tried to teach us, they got shot at, hung, run off, scattered. But over the last 20, 30 years, that crack in the door is opened up, where now many of us in the nations are coming and saying, hey, wait a minute, teach us, God's with you. Now teach us. Zechariah chapter 8, 23. Teach us, because we know that God's with you. Tell us what he really said, what he meant, so we can properly, walk with the Creator as he has created us. We don't walk with God like a Jew does. We walk with God the way he created us. And that's part of why we're learning Genesis. We have a very important part to play in God's creation. And understanding what he says here in the beginning is very important, because that's the reasons why it's called Bereshit, the beginning. Go ahead, Scotty.
Nope. No, it's good. That's good. So next week we're going on into what?
Haven't got that. Well, I know we're going to continue on into verse 5.
Okay.
We're going to take it verse by verse. Some verses we will get into like what we've been doing. Some verses we'll just go through. We'll learn a little bit about it, and then we'll be moving on. Some of them is going to, we're going to get into some areas here, some, a little bit down the road that's going to rock your world.
Okay.
Because they were some aha moments for me.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. All right. Well, again, there's no questions.
Anything
There's
from
some
last week?
likes. No, no, there's some likes and there's some thumbs up and good class.
I know there's some this going on, scratching heads.
Maybe,
Those,
but
those
they
on the
don't have an
radio can see
emoji
me
for
scratching my head.
that. They don't have an emoji for that, but they may figure out one. I don't know. So all right. Well, oh, oh, no, I won't answer that yet. Somebody's already calling me for
For a service call.
yeah, won't answer that yet. So, all right. Well, Terry, thank you so much.
All righty.
We appreciate everybody that spent time with us tonight. If you're watching on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe to that channel and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified every time a new video goes up. And share this video with all your social media platform. You can find all the links to join us over on a Simple Walk Facebook page. And we want to thank everybody listening through Power Faith Radio tonight. I didn't hear from any of our groups, but I just feel that they're out there listening. So we appreciate y'all so much. And we'll be looking for you right here next week.
All right. Y'all have a good week.
Bye-bye, everybody.